National Assembly Service Commission confirms Odo appoints new clerk for reps. Electoral Act Amendment 2025 in focus as guest examines its provisions. Also in the news, 70 years of federalism in Nigeria. News holds public lecture on the journey so far. Good evening and welcome to NTA Parliament News. I am Ene Ojonuba. The National Assembly Service Commission has confirmed the appointment of Emmanuel Odo as the clerk of the Senate. In a statement by the Director of Public Affairs to the Commission, Ima Anyigo, the Commission also elevated Ibrahim Sidi as the acting clerk of the House of Representatives. The Commission further approved the appointment and redeployment of officers into other consolidated positions. These were the high points of decisions reached at the Commission's 19th meeting held on Monday, 20th January 2026. The statement noted that the Commission had on 16 September 2025 approved Odo's elevation to the position of acting clerk of the Senate. Prior to his appointment as the acting clerk of the House of Representatives, Ibrahim Sidi was a director of administration in the National Assembly. His appointment is with effect from 9 February 2026. He will replace Dr. Yahaya Danzaria, who will officially retire from the National Assembly service on 8 February 2026. The newly appointed acting secretaries to the directorates are Fortune Ihua Madueni, Protocol and Interparliamentary Relations, ASEAN Fatima Nana, Zonal Liaison Offices, Engineer Bashir Laya, Estate and Works with effect from 3rd February 2026. Siyaka Wahab Sadiq, Deputy Clerk, Legislative, House of Representatives, and Dauda Bulama Bukar, Deputy Clerk, Administration, House of Representatives. Those redeployed to new positions include Mofoluwake Ogumbayo, who has been moved from the Directorate of Special Duties and Parliamentary Security to become the Secretary of Procurement and Supplies. Kehinde Amos, who was moved from the position of the Deputy Clerk, House of Representatives, Legislative, to position of the Deputy Clerk, Senate, Legislative. Atiku Ibrahim from Procurement and Supplies to Secretary, Finance and Accounts. Vivian Jimanzi from Deputy Clerk, HR Administration to Deputy Clerk, Senate Administration, and Andrew Nwoba from Zonal Liaison Offices to Secretary, Special Duties and Parliamentary Security. Apart from Ibrahim Sidi and Engineer Bashir Laya's appointments, all other appointments and redeployments are with immediate effect. The Electoral Act Amendment Bill is among key legislations before the National Assembly for passage in 2026. The bill seeks to improve election management, strengthen political accountability, and enhance transparency. Some of the provisions in the bill include clearer rules for party primaries, stiffer penalties for electoral offenses, campaign spending limits, among others. We have in the news a legal practitioner and public affairs analyst, Chidi, to speak on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2025. Thank you for joining us on the news.
NTA Parliament, I'm happy to have you.
How will you access the electoral system in Nigeria?
Well, democracy is the best form of government. However, Nigerian electoral system is not near perfect. It's not getting to where we expect it to be, because of interference, political interference, and overbearing attitude of those in power, especially the president, in appointment of INEC chairman, Residential Electoral Commission, and other INEC officials. It shows partiality on part of the government. So, neutral persons should appoint INEC persons, not people that contest an election like the president.
What are the major features of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill before the National Assembly? And which are the areas you think the electoral system needs urgent amendments?
Well, the major highlight of the proposal, first of all, is that INEC will be given opportunity to be prepared 1 year before the election. The proposal that funds must be released to INEC 1 year before the election. They also proposal for the voting by inmates. Those Nigerians are in the prisons or diaspora Nigerians, so that they will be able to vote and participate in governance of Nigeria. Another key proposal is voter identification. These beavers and all this, they say that there's a proposal for proper identification in the polling booth system so that you can print electronically your voter register with digital features that will prevent malpractice and all that, the QR code and all that. These are one of the features in the electoral proposal. Party registration and who has right to submit list of registers and the compilation of a voters register. Voters register must be compiled by the appropriate person containing the details and everything there. There's also the provision for convention and congress of parties. You must provide adequate details including the venue, the meeting time, the agenda, those who are supposed to vote and the delegates. All these things must be sacrosanct there before INEC will participate in your this thing, in your convention or your congress. You know, we are in the age of digital formation. First of all, there should be electoral transmission of election results online, real time. As we are voting immediately, the result is going to the cyber and they're being stored there because the time gap between collation and posting of results, you know, manipulations and other distortion happen within that period. So electronic transmission of results is sacrosanct if you want to get it right this time around. The National Assembly has not done enough. However, some civil society organizations like IGA Africa of Itodo, they are trying to sensitize the people. But it is the duty of National Orientation Agency, Ministry of Information, political parties, and even the National Assembly by themselves to educate the people in the different Nigerian languages about what they are proposing. But what they are doing now is more of elitist. They say we are having public hearing, and then you see that it is only educated people, those that are near to Abuja, that will see that will hear it. So I don't think it is broad-based. They should trickle it down to the people in the using different Nigerian language, Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, and other native language to disseminate the information. They enable those at the grassroots to understand, appreciate what the National Assembly is about to do.
There are calls for stiffer penalties for electoral offences. What's your view?
Well, you know, in criminology, penalties does not prevent commission of crime. But I think in this electoral offense, it is important that those that run foul of the electoral act should be punished. No matter how highly placed they are, or whose horse is God, they should be punished. Luckily enough, the National Assembly in this their proposed amendment bill for 2025 has already increased the punishment for electoral malpractices. They have increased the fine and punishment, you know, to be meted out to people that breach electoral act or commit electoral offences. I think severe punishment should also be visited on people that breach the law, because the electoral system is the core of our constitution and democracy.
Electoral amendment goes through the same process of bill passage. Do you think the time between now and 2027 general election is enough for such critical legislative exercise?
Well, the time between now and 2027 is very short, but you can still achieve what you want to achieve if you are serious. For instance, the proposal for presidential election, the proposal is saying 185 days before the election to enable pre-election and post-election dispute to be concluded before the winner is sworn in. So it is good so that somebody will not be in power and also controlling the system and also going to election petition. I think 1 year is good, but the pressure is too much. If the National Assembly can expedite action, I think we can meet up with the time. INEC, by their name, is Independent National Electoral Committee. They should try as much as possible to be independent, impartial, and also allow the whims and caprices of people to prevail in election. They should not kowtow or dance to the tune of those in power. That is my advice to INEC. Politicians should also know that this democracy, this constitutional democracy, is the common patrimony, is the common wealth, is the common belonging of all Nigerians. So it is not only their own. They should play according to the game. And all the citizens should also know that the highest office is the office of the citizens, because the citizens are the head of the democracy. So they should make sure that they control the system and the narrative and who goes to power and who does not go to power. They should wake up to their responsibility as citizens.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
In Nigeria's National Assembly, a bill is never truly born until two chambers agree, a principle called concurrence. It is the heartbeat of lawmaking in a bicameral legislature. Ignatius Nkwo in this report takes a look at this parliamentary practice and its implication in representative governance.
In a bicameral legislature, as in Nigeria's National Assembly, the making of law is never a solitary act. A bill may begin its journey in one chamber, but it cannot stand alone. It needs the assent of the other. That final handshake, known as concurrence, gives life to legislation. Without it, laws remain in limbo, suspended in silence.
no one arm of the National Assembly should be able to pass any bill into law or make any bill into law without concurrent approval from the other arm. Therefore, I believe that will add more value, more weight, and more representation of the Nigerian people.
Concurrence is often described as democracy's guardrail. It slows the rush, insists on scrutiny, and compels a broader debate. It ensures that voices from the noisy market to the remote villages find reflection in the nation's laws.
Specifically, when there is concurrence between the two chambers, it's to avoid any ambiguity. That's to ensure agreement on the bill.
But there are critics. They see it as a brake on progress, a stumbling block that risks duplication, even rivalry between the two chambers.
In a situation where the bicameral is costing more, taking more time, taking more resources, and probably being less productive.
I feel the bicameral nature sometimes really makes passage of laws cumbersome. People can be represented with just the House of Representatives.
For citizens, concurrence feels like delay, another pause in the machinery of governance. Yet, democracy is rarely swift. Its strength lies not in speed, but in agreement.
Well, when both chambers finally meet in unity, the law that emerges carries something enduring, the unmistakable signature of the people's will. Ignatius Nko, NTA News.
This is NTA Parliament News. We take a break now. The news continues shortly. Please stay with us.
Do you know your representatives in the National Assembly? Do you know their duties, their promises, and their impact? It's time to bridge the gap between the people and their lawmakers. It's time to know your legislator. Know your legislator, a civic power in your hands, only on NTA Parliament. Join us every week as we bring your senators and representatives closer to you.
Thank you for staying with us. In the last 2 weeks, Rivers State House of Assembly again has been in the news. This time specifically with resolutions to impeach the state governor, Siminalayi Fubara. Let's now link up with our correspondent at the Rivers State House of Assembly, Nkiru Onyejesi, for an update. Hello, Nkiru, if you can hear me. What is the latest from the Rivers State House of Assembly?
Thank you, Ene, and welcome to Port Harcourt. Now, we're all aware of the ongoing crisis between the Rivers State House of Assembly and Governor Siminalayi Fubara. After the House adjourned plenary to January 26, 2026, at their last sitting in December 2025, the House members invited journalists for a press conference at the Assembly quarters on 16th January 2026, where they made their stand known that they are going ahead with the impeachment process of the governor and his deputy. You would also recall that 4 House members earlier last week had a press briefing where they appealed to their colleagues to step down on the impeachment proceedings. Now, at the conference, these 4 members made a U-turn and said they are standing with their colleagues in the impeachment process, citing that the governor has ignored the House and the Constitution. Now, immediately after the briefing, the House convened and the Speaker, Martin Amehule, called for a vote. And at the end, 25 members voted for the continuation of the impeachment process. And the Speaker also called on the Chief Judge of the state to set up a 7-man panel of investigation.
How is the crisis in the Assembly affecting legislative activities, especially legislative oversights?
So far, since the crisis started, most bills passed in the House have not been passed into law, as the governor has a big role to play.
How tense is the atmosphere around the Assembly and Port Harcourt generally?
For now, the Rivers State House of Assembly complex is still under construction, although almost completed, and sitting has been taking place at the Assembly quarters for a while now.
In your opinion, how do you think this crisis can be resolved?
We are all aware that the president had intervened in the crisis before the 6-month emergency rule. However, I think the president still needs to step in to finally resolve this crisis for the restoration of peace in the state.
Thanks for your time, Nkiru. Speaker of the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly, Udeme Otong, says the 8th Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly recorded a significant progress last year through its oversight functions. Motions and bills passed. He stated this as the State Assembly resumed plenary for the year 2026. Nsikak Ogun reports.
The Speaker Udeme Otong, while thanking God for life, protection and provision, says God has been faithful to members and staff of Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly, expressing the hope that 2026 will be a year of expansion and blessing. He commended lawmakers for their support and encouragement, which manifested in the progress recorded in 2025, promising that the House will pass more bills and motions in the year 2026.
By the grace of God, I know 2026 is a year of our own expansion, a year of growth. I'm very sure the group of members that we have in this house, more bills, more motion, and will affect the life of Akwa Ibom people, will be passed, will be moved.
Leader of the House and member representing Ntorobịam State Constituency, Otobon Bob, who welcomed his colleagues to the new year, expects robust relationship among members for a greater Akwa Ibom State.
The year 2026 shall be one where this particular House of Assembly will rise and hold the occasion to continue to deliver the dividends of democracy to our constituencies and to ensure that Akwa Ibom State remains peaceful and develops as quickly as it can through the laws we will be making here in this particular.
Member representing Nsereta State Constituency, Prince Nephew Ota, says the year has started well with no petition of any kind.
Mr. Speaker, we are not starting this with a petition. No petition.
Meanwhile, the Speaker announced that the report of the local government autonomy has been submitted to the House and committed to the Committee on Public Accounts for rescheduling. Nsikak Okon, NTA News.
Ogun State House of Assembly has adopted a resolution urging the state government to liaise with the federal government and military authorities to provide alternative shooting range for the Nigerian Army, Sappers Barracks, Ilesha Ijebu, towards solving the alleged land encroachment by officers of the Nigerian Army, Ilesha Ijebu, which is causing panic and crisis between the communities in Ijebu Northeast and Ijebu East local governments and the military. Ogun State House of Assembly correspondent Yemi Dalemo has details of the report.
The resolution followed the presentation of the report of the Committee of the Old House by the Deputy Speaker, Bolanle Latifat Ajayi, on the lingering land dispute between the Nigerian Army and communities in Akure Ijebu and Ijebu Imushin within Ijebu Northeast and Ijebu East local government area of Ogun State, which has persisted for about 50 years. The resolution recommended that the state government engage military high command to review and reconsider the decision reached earlier by the panel and establish appropriate mechanism to prevent further military encroachment into the affected villages.
All those to be served, all those to be written, all stakeholders at state level and at the national level.
The Speaker, Oludaisi Elemide, and some members of the House had earlier visited the communities on fact-finding mission, where it was discovered that the land crisis stemmed from the failure to properly gazette and document the earlier review that reduced the portion allotted to the Nigerian Army. Traditional ruler of Akure Kingdom, Oba Owode Oyelaja, and spokesperson of the affected communities, Major General Samson Odusi, retired, explained that the over 600 years communities have suffered demolition, loss of lives, destruction of schools, hospitals, houses, and properties from the military while attempting to take over their ancestral land.
Military have carved out their land and fenced it when they acquired that land. All this we will not be discussing today. And I am happy that they said the senator representing the senatorial district was there. You can be sure that this house will do everything within our constitutional right to assist.
Ogun State government as a whole, not just the House of Assembly alone, but the legislative and executives are with you in this cause. We don't want you people to take laws into your hands. We are law-abiding citizens.
To carve all their land together, including my palace here. Nobody can go in and nobody can go out. I don't know after the fence whether they want to live, they want to take over all our properties.
Trauma endured by our people over these decades is better imagined than experienced. In a letter dated 5th April 2016, the Army headquarters acknowledged that the acquisition occurred during the military regime and noted that only a political solution of our elected representatives, especially the legislature, can bring full restoration of this case.
Following the passage of the resolution, the Speaker directed that copies of the report and its recommendations be forwarded to the State Governor, Dapo Abiodun, and other concerned stakeholders, including the federal ministries, leadership of the National Assembly, heads of security formations, especially the Nigerian Army, for necessary action. In Abeokuta, Yemi Dalemo, NTA News.
As Nigeria marks 70 years of federal system of government, stakeholders argued that for the country to get it right, there is need for continuous constitutional reforms and restructuring. This was at a one-day public lecture on federalism in Nigeria organized by the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, NILS. Mohammed Rabiu Ali reports.
Nigeria's federal system is believed to be unique in Africa, significant in the developing world. The lecture is to interrogate and reflect on the system of federalism landscape in Nigeria at 70, development and challenges.
The fact that, unlike in other federations, the Nigerian Center has had this capacity to basically create and recreate constituent units. And we see that in the way in which Nigeria has evolved from 3 regions to 4 regions, to 12 states, and now to 36 states, basically by the center reconstituting the constituent units. You won't find that in a classic, a coming together federation.
Experts enumerated areas that need urgent redress that occupy an intermediate position between mononational and multinational models of federalism.
Federalism lies at the very heart of Nigeria's constitutional architecture. It reflects our diversity, our history, and our continuing quest to build a stable, inclusive, and prosperous nation.
We can be better than any federal system in the world, and we can be the best democracy in the world. For instance, how can democracy grow and mature in Nigeria when institutions that are there, they are too weak, and there are many that are not there, and until they are created, we cannot get the best result.
They believe that by interference, a more dynamic and equitable intergovernmental fiscal design is required to sustain and consolidate Nigeria's remarkable system of federalism for national unity. Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
That's our package this evening. You can follow us for news updates on our social media handles showing on your screen. Thanks for watching and do have a great evening. I am Ene Ojonuba.